Mr. Vajc, Foreign Affairs Committee of the European Parliament next week will review the report on North Macedonia. How does this document addresses the blockade in the accession process, and where do you see the way out for continuing the Euro integration process?
Well, the report will only be voted next week, so the final result will only be known next week when we see how the different members of European Parliament and especially the Foreign Policy Committee voted. But the draft that is prepared is clearly addressing also the needed steps for the next, opening of the negotiations. Basically, it is again voicing what the Commission has already been saying clearly, that there needs to be an inclusion of several minorities into the constitution, so the so-called constitutional amendment, so we can finally start the accession talks, so the actual work on the accession. These constitutional changes have been declared in the common interest of European Union, but also North Macedonia, but also Bulgaria gave their consent to not further block the process if these amendments are decided by the Parliament.
So clearly, this is the only way forward we are speaking about.
This is what was agreed on an earlier stage. I was back then not yet the rapporteur responsible. So this is the agreement that North Macedonia has signed with the Commission and with the European Union, with the consent of Bulgaria. And this is the way forward, yes.
Bulgarian media are reporting, and there are also statements coming from high-ranking officials here in Skopje, that the document refers in several places to the recognition of Macedonian identity and language. Can you explain what this is all about?
In the draft, how it is now, there are several references to the recognition of Macedonian language and Macedonian identity. I personally feel sorry that this is needed because no doubt Macedonians are Macedonians and the Macedonian language is the Macedonian language. I personally would not see the need to pronounce that, but due to some question marks that have been raised very much by the Bulgarian side, that Macedonian is an independent language differentiating itself from Bulgarian, and that also Macedonian identity has been questioned, not just by Bulgarian neighbors, but on an earlier stage also by your Greek neighbors. It is needed to mention this, and this is what in the draft report has been included. There's a clear mentioning of the reality of independent Macedonian identity and language.
Will there be majority for this in the European Parliament, and are you feeling any kind of pressure coming from your Bulgarian colleagues, members of the European Parliament?
I expect a majority for a constructive report. There's a big majority of groups in the European Parliament that support the accession process of North Macedonia. So I think this will result into a big majority. I cannot deny that Bulgarian members of European Parliament are unhappy with the text. They're also voicing this very publicly in Bulgarian media. It goes as far as that I'm personally attacked, that I'm biased. There's even cases where I'm claimed to be corrupted by North Macedonia, which I completely reject. There has been no payments, no favors, no whatsoever. I have been trying together with the colleagues from Liberals, from Social Democrats, and from European People's Party to draft a realistic report on the situation where we are. I have also been mentioning incidences of hate speech, hate crimes against different groups, but this is unfortunately what we see in different states, that this is happening. I have also been trying to very much include the Bulgarian members of European Parliament and their legitimate requests also to have the Bulgarian community mentioned. It is in my draft also mentioned once, even specifically as Bulgarian community. So I have really been trying to draft a balanced report that also allows our Bulgarian colleagues to give up their fundamental blockade of the accession process and to join a constructive course. And I'm still hoping that in the voting next week, they will join a constructive course in supporting their neighbor country, North Macedonia, in joining the European Union.
Should we interpret this reference to the Macedonian identity and language as fulfilling one of the demands of the authorities in Skopje, adoption of the European Parliament document that affirms the Macedonian identity and language?
The report is not there to satisfy the current government in Skopje or the current government in Bulgaria. This report is a report of the European Parliament and of the EU on the state of play in the country, and it is highlighting positive developments. It is also highlighting some concerns that are still there. It is highlighting some needs for reform. So this report does not have the intention to intervene or interfere also into bilateral relations between North Macedonia and Bulgaria. I am an Austrian citizen, and as Austrians, we have learned to reach out to our neighbors, to acknowledge our common history, to also work on a common interpretation of history. But in my case, I'm situated at the border of Austria and Slovenia, and it took Austria and Slovenia more than 50 years to come to a more or less common interpretation of our common history. This is a long process, which will also hopefully happen in a constructive way between Bulgaria and North Macedonia. But this is not what this report is about. This report is about the relations of European Union and North Macedonia and the state of play in the accession process, and that's what it's focusing on.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.